Byakuya Kuchiki. Byakuya Kuchiki, Kuchiki Byakuya, is the 28th head of the Kuchiki clan, one of the 4 great noble clans in Seoul society. He is also the captain of the 6th division in the Gotei 13. His previous lieutenant was Jinjiro Shirogane and his current lieutenant is Renji Abarai. Byakuya was born into the Kuchiki clan, and grew up in the Kuchiki mansion in Siriidai. He would spend countless hours training, preparing to take over the leadership of the Kuchiki family. Yoruchi Shihoin would often visit the Kuchiki manor to play a game of tag with Byakuya. On one such occasion, approximately 110 years ago, she is presented to a training Byakuya by his grandfather, Jinrei Kuchiki. Upon seeing Yoruchi, he attacked and insulted her. Yoruchi playfully teased him, complaining about his greeting after coming all the way there to see him. Byakuya, expressing his displeasure at seeing her, stated he would be the head of the Kuchiki clan soon enough, so he had no time to waste on her. Yoruchi, stealing his hair tie, exclaimed that if the head of the Kuchiki clan could get his hair tie stolen by a girl at play, she is worried about its future. She used Shuunpa to escape from him, leaving an angry Byakuya, claiming his superiority, promising to make her see the error of her ways. 55 years ago, Byakuya married Hisana Kuchiki, a commoner from Rukongai, breaking the rules by accepting her into the noble Kuchiki clan. 5 years after the marriage, she became sick and was near death. Hisana asked Byakuya to find and adopt her biological sister, Rukia, whom she had abandoned as a baby, as her final wish. She made him promise he would not tell Rukia she is her sister. 1 year later, Byakuya, finding Rukia at the Shino Academy, immediately adopted her into the Kuchiki clan. By adopting her, Byakuya respected his late wife's final wish, but had broken the rules of his clan again. He later swore upon his parents' graves he would never break the rules again, no matter what. Jin Ikamaru, becoming captain of the 3rd division at the same time, would often start conversations with Byakuya when they crossed paths. When Isshin Shiba, captain of the 10th division, makes his report concerning the mysterious hollow and the string of events occurring in Naruki City, Byakuya is present to hear his speech, along with all of the other captains of the Gotei 13. Appearance: Byakuya has slate gray eyes and long black hair, which he keeps up in intricate white headpieces called kansekin, pulled star insert, viz., pull star silence, which symbolize his nobility as the head of the Kuchiki clan, wearing 3 on top of his head and another 2 on the right side. In addition to the standard captain uniform, he wears a white scarf, which is woven by the master weaver Tsujishiro Kuromon III. The scarf is made from Jinpaku Kazahana no Yuzujinu, gauze of silver-white flurry of snow in clear skies, viz., silvery white windflower silk gauze, and is a family heirloom, having been handed down from generation to generation and given to each head of the Kuchiki clan. The scarf alone is worth 10 mansions in the Siriidai. He wears fingerless white teko which only cover the back of his hands. 17 months after Aizen's defeat, Byakuya wears hairpieces at the back of his head, but it is noted that these hairpieces are not kansekin. He wears a variation of the Captain Haori, featuring a high collar with light gold edges and small, light gold tassels attached to the corners. The white scarf is no longer part of his attire. 10 years after Yawacha's defeat, Byakuya returns to wearing 3 kansekin on top of his head. Personality: as the 28th head of the Kuchiki clan, Byakuya acts in an aristocratic manner. He always seems serene and apathetic towards other people, even while actually deeply conflicted. He is notably calm, even in battle. He generally acts indifferent, bordering on arrogance, to most situations he is faced with, and rarely views his opponent as being worth his time. Byakuya is easily offended if his name is not used properly. As such, he views Ichigo Kurosaki with disdain for always referring to him improperly. When Byakuya talks with Ichigo, he calls him by his full name. Byakuya is very perceptive, fully aware of the limits of his abilities, and anything he states in comparison to an opponent is usually justified. Despite consistently stating himself to be far stronger than opponents like Zamari Ruros, Byakuya retains a formal tone, always using wateshi, which is a formal way of referring to oneself. When he was younger, he was quick to anger and very hot-headed, as noted by his grandfather. Byakuya strongly believes in law and order. As a captain of the Gotei 13 and head of one of the great noble families, he works hard for a peaceful society. He feels that if someone in his position does not follow the rules as a good example, no one else will. He believes that to maintain the order, all lawbreakers must be punished, even if it goes against his own wishes. Byakuya feels that part of a captain's responsibilities is to make sure that the lieutenant's responsibilities are taken care of. During the years between Rukia's adoption and her death sentence, Byakuya's pride and calm demeanor made her believe he never cared about her because he had never once looked at her. In spite of his icy and regal manner, Byakuya cares for and protects those important to him. This holds especially true to Rukia as he loved his Anna dearly and unconditionally, having promised his Anna he would protect Rukia no matter what. After the events of the Aizen incident, he admits law isn't perfect, and becomes more lenient towards Rukia. Although, he tries to maintain a balance between following orders and breaking the law by exploiting loopholes in his orders. In addition, he also provided Rukia and Renji with safety cloaks to protect them against Hueco Mundo's rough terrain. Because of his promise to his Anna, Byakuya smothered Rukia despite his pride by making sure she would never become a seated officer because of the risks that involve missions for such positions. He also comes to learn about his mistakes of keeping his feelings to himself and becomes more open about how much he cares for Rukia and others that are close to him such as Renji. Byakuya is popular among the female Shinigami of Soul Society, and was voted #1 in the Captain We Desire to Release a Photo Book for poll taken by the Shinigami Women's Association. He likes Japanese cherry blossoms, nighttime walks, spicy food, and bananas, but does not like sweets. Byakuya excels in calligraphy. Equipment. Oaken clothing. After training with the Royal Guard, Byakuya dons special clothing in order to safely return to the Siriidii. These clothes are made from the bones and hair of the members of the Royal Guard, and they possess incredible defensive power, allowing Byakuya to withstand the friction that results from breaking through the 72 barriers between Soul Society and the Soul King Palace without suffering any damage. Yawatch notes that no Shinigami could hope to wear greater garb. These clothes take the form of a white, turban-like headpiece covering the upper half of his head and trailing off to his shoulders, a tasseled muffler covering his mouth, and a white cape with a thick, light-colored hem worn over his shihakusho. Powers and abilities. Master Swordsman. Byakuya is a master of swordsmanship, possessing flawless precision and performing lethal attacks with little effort. Shuinpa Master. Byakuya is arguably best known for his skill in Shuinpa. Having been taught by, but never beating, Goddess of Flash, Yoruichi Shihoin, he is easily one of the most proficient users of this skill in all of Soul Society. He remained able to use Shuinpa after severing the muscles and tendons in his left leg. Senka, Flash Blossom, a Shuinpa technique where one, moving to their opponent's back, directly attacks and seals one's Seketsu and Hakusui in 2 rapid strikes, effectively cutting them off from their spiritual energy flow. This attack is his favorite to use. The technique is so fast, an opponent may not be able to tell whether they were attacked from the front or the back, and even an outside observer may find it impossible to see the movements. Utsasimi, cast-off cicada shell way of Onmitsu, 3rd of the Shiho. It allows for movement at great speed, leaving an afterimage behind. It is a technique taught to Byakuya by Yoruichi Shihoin. Kido Master. Byakuya has considerable knowledge of high-level Kido spells, casting several in quick succession, with no incantation and almost no effort, and still possessing formidable power. He has used spells up to level 81, and possesses advanced knowledge of Kido application and consistency. He can use a low-level spell repeatedly in rapid succession and with devastating effects, as well as a counter to attacks. He uses a low-level lightning spell to burn a hole right through Ichigo's shoulder. Hakuda Combatant. While used less often, Byakuya is highly proficient in this area. Byakuya stealthily knocked out several Shinigami guards with a single strike each. After discarding his Zanpakudo during the battle against Pepe, Byakuya used Hakuda to defend himself from Shuhei Hiseiji's rapid attacks with both Senbon Zakura and Kazushini. Master Tactician. Byakuya is a highly perceptive fighter, almost immediately determining an opponent's attack patterns and weaknesses. He is a crafty tactician, effectively using Kido to confuse his opponents. He can discern the motives and abilities of his opponents, and effectively uses his knowledge to end the battle in his favor. Immense spiritual power. Byakuya can exert an immense amount of spiritual pressure, which, in addition to his already admirable combat skills and finesse, makes him one of the most formidable captains. His spiritual pressure can be felt from a great distance, and it has the tendency to make people perspire in fear. Ganju Shiba has stated Byakuya is the strongest leader in the entire history of the Kuchiki clan, and Koga Kuchiki has stated few, if any, of the Kuchiki clan leaders have been as powerful as Byakuya is, further elaborating on his power level. His Ryatsu is white. Following his training within the royal palace, Byakuya easily dispatched 3 Stern Ritter while fighting 5 of them simultaneously. Enhanced endurance. While not having the most imposing appearance compared to other Shinigami, Byakuya is a very resilient fighter. During his fight against Ichigo, despite gaining severe injuries, Byakuya continued fighting effectively, even ignoring his wounds to the point where he seemed unfazed by them. At the end of the fight, he was able to remain standing and performed an impressive Shuinpa to leave, and later survived being impaled by Jin Ikamaru's Shinso, taking the blow in Rukia's place. During his fight with the 7th Espada Zamari Ruros, Byakuya willingly damaged himself to escape from his enemy's possession attack, and continued to fight as though unaffected, eventually obtaining victory. During his fight with Tsukishima, he had his entire left arm mutilated by Senbon Sakura, and used that same arm to catch its blades and thrust them at the Fullbringer, ultimately defeating him. Byakuya managed to survive a multitude of devastating injuries during his battle with Esnot, including having his stomach ripped out and being viciously attacked by his own Bankai. Enhanced durability. Byakuya is able to resist the unique healing properties of Tenjiro Kirinji's hot springs without rotting away after being fully healed. Kirinji even stated he stayed in longer than anyone else. Even after being struck with Gerard Valkyrie's gigantic shield, which caused the entire building Byakuya was standing on to crumble, Byakuya emerged with only slight bleeding and ruined clothes. Zanpakuto. Senbon Sakura redirects here. For the manifested spirit that appears in the anime-only Zanpakuto Unknown Tales arc, see Senbon Sakura, Zanpakuto Spirit. Senbon Sakura, Thousand Cherry Blossom. Senbon Sakura is a regular katana. It has a simple cross guard, with an open frame much like a 4-pane window. It has a bronze guard, with lavender hilt wrapping, and a white sheath. Shurkai. It is triggered by the command, Scatter, Chire. Shurkai special ability. In its Shurkai, Senbon Sakura's blade separates into 1,000 tiny, slender blade fragments, which fly away from the hilt, leaving only the sword's handle in Byakuya's hand. While the blades are supposedly too small to be seen normally, they reflect light in such a way as to resemble cherry blossom petals. By swinging Senbon Sakura's hilt, Byakuya can control the blade fragments, allowing him to shred opponents at a distance and break through almost any defense. The blades can be used for defensive purposes, as they can protect Byakuya from an incoming sword swing. In order to protect Byakuya from his own attacks in both Shurkai and Bankai, Senbon Sakura possesses a hurtless area, Mushoken, lit. Woundless zone, viz. Safe zone, where it does not cut anything within 85 centimeters of Byakuya unless he himself allows the blades to enter the area. During Byakuya's training with the Royal Guard, he obtained a finer understanding of his Shurkai, granting him greater control and the ability to form more solid constructs at a greater scale. Bankai, Senbon Sakura Kagyoshi, vibrant display of 1,000 cherry blossoms. Byakuya's Bankai is a much larger version of Senbon Sakura's Shurkai. To activate it, Byakuya drops his sword straight down. The sword does not have to be completely intact for Byakuya to activate his Bankai, as he can simply drop all the pieces at once with both hands. The sword phases into the ground, as though it were a pool of water. Energy ripples expand out, turning the surrounding area dark, and within seconds, 2 rows of 1,000 giant blades rise up from the ground. Those 1,000 swords scatter, and countless flying blades pierce the enemy. No one knows the exact number of blades generated, and no one can dodge or even see the movements of these blades. The number of blades is great enough that Byakuya can simultaneously use them for offense and defense. He commonly forms them into large masses to obliterate opponents instantaneously. As they move through the air like torrents of waves, they give the appearance of cherry blossoms flowing swiftly along the wind. Senbon Sakura Kagyoshi's defensive use allows Byakuya to cover himself entirely in these tiny blades, forming a body shield. Unlike his Shurkai, his Bankai is mentally controlled. While Byakuya can control the blades with his mind alone, using his hands allows him to do so more effectively, making the blades move twice as fast. Similar to his Shurkai, its attack is triggered with the phrase Scatter. Bankai special ability. Byakuya's Bankai has several forms, achieved by arranging the blades in different patterns. Each form presents a different advantage, such as increasing offense at the expense of defense. This variety of techniques makes Senbon Sakura Kagyoshi extremely versatile. These techniques are activated by saying the name of the technique, followed by the name of his Bankai, Senbon Sakura Kagyoshi. Senkei, Slaughterscape, the true form of Senbon Sakura. This unites the scattered petals into complete glowing swords, numbering in the thousands, which form 4 rows. These rows float just above each other, and circle around Byakuya and his opponent in a continuously moving, column-like array. It abandons defense in favor of a concentrated offense. Though visually menacing, this form is not meant for attack from all sides, rather, it concentrates his Bankai into fewer blades, thus increasing his attack power. While Byakuya can mentally control these swords, he commonly calls them to his hands for actual melee combat. When in his hand, they lose their glow, and take the form of his sealed Zanpakuto. It seems to take fewer blows from a Senkei blade to gravely injure an opponent than the multiple cuts needed from the unfocused Bankai. Senkei seals Byakuya in with his enemy, allowing neither combatant to move very far from each other, though the area is still large enough for maneuverability. The deadliest aspect of the Senkei form is that it allows for use of all the swords at the same attack level, making it a way to effectively defeat an enemy unaware of the danger of the situation. It is extremely rare for Byakuya to use this ability, doing so only when he has sworn to cut down the opponent with his very own hands. Ichigo is the second being to ever witness the ability. Even when Senkei isn't activated, Byakuya can form identical swords from his base Bankai to be used in combat. This technique requires Byakuya's blood to activate. Ika Senjinka, 1 bite, 1000-bladed flower. Byakuya attacks a single target with all of his Senkei swords at once. Fitting to Senkei focusing solely on offense, it is Senbonzakura Kageyoshi's ultimate attack. Gokiai, Moscape. This form increases the number of tiny blades immensely. It creates a spherical formation of innumerable blade fragments, which swirl around the opponent like a cloud before flying into them from every possible angle, leaving no blind spots and no possibility of escape. It proceeds to collapse in on itself, obliterating the opponent. When used, it completely obliterated a very large building from the inside out, and the resulting shockwave generated by the attack forced Byakuya himself to flash step away. Shukiai, Hakutiken, Enscape, White Imperial Sword. This condenses each and every one of his blades into a single, potent sword, drastically increasing its cutting power. The spiritual energy and pressure released by this form is immense. The blade appears bright white, and its aura takes the form of a bird, earning it the name Hakutiken, White Imperial Sword. Pure white wings form on Byakuya's back, as well as a halo-like circle, made of concentrated spiritual energy. This form's blade can create aggravated injuries in a single blow. The wings can be used for flight. Weaknesses. Release negation. Shurkai. The release can be negated before it completed. Examples include when Yoruchi Shihoin wrapped the blade in cloth during Byakuya's short battle with Ichigo, or when Rinji Abarai stopped it with Zabumaru during their own fight. However, if the release completes itself, Senbonzakura is rendered near unstoppable. Dissipation. Shurkai. The release can be overwhelmed if faced with a powerful concussive force. When facing against Ichigo Kurosaki during their final duel, the entire Shurkai blades of Senbonzakura was obliterated from the power of Ichigo's Getsuga Tensho. Hurtless area complication. If the enemy enters the hurtless area, this allows them to exploit an opening in Senbonzakura's otherwise invincible attack range. As Shikuro Tsukishima explained, the trick to avoid Senbonzakura's blades is not to retreat, but to get closer. Although Byakuya can compensate this weakness by allowing the blades to enter the hurtless area, since it is the range in which he can safely react and redirect missed attacks, by increasing the speed of the blades within this range, Byakuya can accidentally injure himself if his timing is distorted even slightly.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.